In 5 seconds, and we're live. So thank you to the team who organized this again, and to the fantastic team of Young and Ericsson for helping us in the background. As you might know, if you are watching this or if you watched our previous webinar, we at Think Young, in partnership with Ericsson, we're organizing a month-long campaign throughout the whole month of October to celebrate the European hidden inventors. And hidden inventors are those who made important invention and innovation for the world, things that we maybe use every day, but we don't know their faces, we don't know what their name are, and we definitely want to give lights and visibility to the European inventors who are really, through the history, have helped a lot Europe and the world to become a better place. Today we are very lucky because we have Vesa Lehtovirta, and I hope I pronounced the surname in the right way, who's a principal research security and for Ericsson, and most importantly, he is the Ericsson, the winner of the Ericsson Inventor of the Year award for 2020. So thank you very much, Vesa, for being with us and for accepting to join this conversation. We are live on several platforms, and whoever is watching us, please remember you can ask any question. You just type in the platform where you are, and then the question will be asked towards the end of a Q&A with this. The campaign will started on the 1st of October. It will last the whole month. We have several Q&A through the next couple of weeks, of which I will say more later, so a little bit of suspense. And now we get to talk to Vesa, who's championed Ericsson contribution in the 3GPP standards, which is something that might sound not familiar to many, but is definitely a driving force of innovation in Europe, where thousands of different engineers come together. So Vesa, let's start from a more, let's say, personal question. Let's start at the beginning. How do you decide to become an inventor? How does someone in his teenager year, or when you're a child, or maybe in your 20s, how do you decide to become an inventor?
Well, it's a good question. That I really never actually was building any new things, but I was really interested on different topics. I remember I was reading books about technology and how things really work. So I was in that way interested in things, but I really kind of got inspired when I joined Ericsson after my studies and when I started to do my master's thesis. So one of the first tasks I started to work with within Ericsson was actually based on an invention of my colleagues, and that actually sparked me that maybe I could also make an invention myself at some point in the future. And it has happened, so it inspired me so much that I later on started to do innovations and have made some patents as well.
Nice, and it's good you mentioned patent, because it's definitely one of the key pillars of what we're trying to talk about. You spent most of your career also not just working for Ericsson, but contributing to the 3GPP standards. And as I said before, it's something that maybe not many people are familiar with. So can you tell us a bit about what it is and what inspires you to join this group? To my understanding, there are thousands of engineers from different organizations, different companies, NGOs getting together, and they contribute on a voluntary base, which is very much, I think, something that inventors bring on with their personality. You know, but they do a lot of things on a voluntary base for other people, and that's why humanity at all benefits from this. How did you got inspired to join for 20 years, and I mean to champion it, to really being one of the driving force between 3GPP?
Yes, I actually got the possibility to start going to standardization early. It was 2003 actually, and I was first working in the so-called back office. I was supporting the people going to the standards meetings. Then later on, I got the possibility to go to a standards meeting, and I actually noticed that people in those meetings they are coming from different backgrounds and from different companies, from different cultures, and they were all working on a same common target and purpose, to work with the mobile networks. So that was very inspiring to me to see, and especially also for the seeing that how similar people are, like engineers like me, working with the same purpose of doing the mobile network. And I would say that this kind of collaboration, what 3GPP is doing, is also a great inspiration as a whole. That actually people maybe don't know that 3GPP, as you mentioned, also is a huge collaboration effort, where there are actually hundreds of companies, and I could say you'd also mentioned that hundreds and maybe also thousands of engineers developing the same mobile network system. And the organization has actually developed the 3G, 4G, and now also the 5G standards. And
wow.
So it has been working for over 20 years now. So it actually the 3GPP as an organization started in '98, when I also made my master's thesis when I graduated. So since then, as we know, 3GPP networks, they have brought the mobile broadband to all of us, which enables internet access to people, to different digital services, education, and health, and so on. So it's a foundational technology, and I feel very inspired to be part of, having been able to be part of that work.
Nice. And you revealed a bit one of the big, I would say, topic of today's world, and obviously also of our conversation, given we have the opportunity to have you, which is 5G. But we will talk about this in a bit. If I can ask you something, kind of a last question on 3GPP itself. It's such an enormous undertaking, you know? And as you said, they developed 3G, you guys developed 3G, 4G, 5G. If there are many other organizations that do kind of some work that can be compared, how would you compare the different effort of a different organization in this specific industry?
Yes, I think 3GPP is a wonderful example of this hugely successful collaboration. So as mentioned, like different companies, different engineers around the world are working on the same target, and the 3GPP is working actually with one system. You could think about 3GPP as one big machine, and everybody needs to be in sync. It has like more than 20 different working groups looking at different aspects of the core network, radio network, and where I have been working with looking at the security aspects. And all this actually works together, and the end result is the working mobile network system. Like compared maybe to some other organizations which may be developing like certain smaller components, which are also important things. And but 3GPP is unique in a way that it's everything needs to fit together in this big system. But one other aspect is also important, is the aspect of innovation. So 3GPP is based also on that, on the model of sharing innovations, and making innovations available to everybody, also with reasonable terms. So this means that when you are giving your innovations to others to use, this happens typically. Actually, we are patents and licensing. So then you are giving the technology for others to use, and you don't have to keep it to yourself. But then eventually this will benefit everybody in the industry, and also the end users, who can benefit better networks and also better products.
Nice. And I don't know how many of our people who are watching us are aware, but yesterday it was the World Standards Day. And one of the things you mentioned now is that 3GPP really stands out because it's such a large machine, no? That try to involve everybody, because it has to be to create standards that applies, you know, to everybody, as we mentioned before, 3G, 4G, 5G. And based on your experience, could you tell the audience what role and what importance these standards play. Why do we need these standards, and what such standards really bring and help us to achieve?
Yes. In a nutshell, one could say that the standards, they are enabling that the smartphones and the networks around the world, that they will work together. That you can buy a phone in some other continent and use it in some other place in the world. So this is enabled by the standards, but also by the roaming between different operators. But the standards also, they enable the advances in the technology. So it's maybe easy to forget, like 10 years ago, we were not able to watch high definition video on our phones. Nowadays it's common task to do. People use phones to watch video and clips and full HD movies on their phones. That wouldn't be possible without the current mobile technology. And 5G is actually taking this a bit further, or quite much further. That not only looking at the mobile broadband, but it's taking the networks to support also different kind of things. So-called Internet of Things to be connected. For example, the robots on the factory floor and so on. So
Nice.
For me, it's like I feel proud of being able to be part of that, and that also Ericsson is a big player in that area.
That's very good. And now we get, you just mentioned it. Now I know we're getting to something that I guess most of the people are watching are very interested, because we hear the news, and 5G is with us basically, in these days, and really the leap and the jump that you make from 4G to 5G is really gonna change drastically our lives. I've seen a couple of demo of things that can happen with 5G, and it's really astonishing. And you are currently coordinating, the overall network security and standardization, that Ericsson is doing in 5G and the challenges. Can you give us a little of an insights on your current projects, if there is something that that you think it's cool for us to understand and know of what's going on, and understand a bit where we are, and actually what's happening next, because I guess we'll understand the general concept is going to be faster, but what's the thing that it's going to be interesting for everybody, I guess, to understand.
Yes, for me, one should actually remember that 5G is actually based on the 4G technology. So it's not like one, like I have been talking about the 3GPP being the important organization here, but also that there are also other organizations like the Internet Engineering Task Force, called the IETF. They are developing and have developed many of the important protocols used in the internet. Everybody knows this HTTPS in the top of the browser. It's the security protocol to protect our web browsing. So, like for me, my current role is looking kind of after also, if looking at 5G as a bigger thing, that which is not only the 3GPP system, but there are also other organizations working on this topic. And I'm currently looking at kind of and coordinating how these different other organizations could form the current and the future mobile and 5G and mobile networks.
Nice. If we look at the series of Q&A we're having, 2 weeks ago we had Carlos Puente, who basically is the guy who, if we think 20, 30 years ago, our parents had a phone with an antenna, and now our phones, they don't have an antenna anymore. And basically, he's the guy behind it. And today we are talking to, and he's from Barcelona, he's from Spain, from Barcelona. Today we're talking to you, you're Finnish, you're definitely pushing 5G ahead, you're, if I can call you Mr. 5G somehow. And next week we're having the guy who invented the Bluetooth technology, which is definitely going to be useful, because one of my wired earplugs is not working anymore, so I'm going to use the Bluetooth one next week. And again, he's from the Netherlands, so all European, no? And again, if we for us doing this campaign, we put together a book with 20 hidden inventors. We call them like this. And the whole idea is Europe through the history has always been very much home to these inventors, and we do have a feeling that recently we need to make sure Europe regain its status as a global powerhouse when it comes to inventor innovation at large. What would be your take on this? I mean, if you for one day could definitely look and say, okay, I want to have like a European, or I can have a European impact. What would you do? What would you suggest to Europe to regain this global powerhouse status, which is what we definitely had? And I mean, again, with you guys, I see that we're still very much at a good position. But what would be your suggestion on this?
I think we could also take a look at the history, so for the legacy of European innovation, what we have. So on one hand, one could say actually that the 3GPP, even though it's a truly global organization, one could say that it also has its roots in Europe. So maybe a bit older people maybe remember the technology called the GSM. So GSM standard, which was that was a European standard, and it became hugely successful and used all over the world. So based then 3GPP and the 3G technology, then like 20 years ago, that was built on the foundation of the GSM technology and on the ETSI, on the European standards for the mobile technology. And so you could kind of say that the 3GPP is in a way a continuation of the European tradition in doing mobile network standards. Another aspect is also that one could say that for 5G and also for earlier generations, the European research projects have been very important in laying the frameworks and the ideas which have then been developed for the actual technology. So we have a good tradition in developing new technologies and mobile networks together. So this actually brings to that it's important also to have then such environment which can incentivize inventors to work on these technologies, so that they also will have an incentive to bring forward new technologies and doing patents.
Yeah, and we will come to patent in a minute. If I can go back to 5G, I guess there is one thing that probably many people ask you, or at least when you're around with your friends, I guess as well. 5G comes with a lot of opportunities. There is also some concern when it comes to security. Internet of Things, hacking, cybersecurity, which is very much, I guess, the topic that you have been focusing good part of your timing. As someone who's working in this field, what would you say to that? What would you say to the concern of people when it comes to hacking IoT, cybersecurity, cyber threat, etc., etc.?
Yes. 5G is actually the most secure mobile network technology thus far. So it is based on the 4G networks. Many components and security solutions in 5G are based on the security of the 4G networks. But it also has many new aspects. I could mention that, for example, the network security within the network has been improved, I would say tremendously, also for the security between different networks when people are roaming in different countries. Also the air interface security has been improved. For example, for the privacy of the users, the privacy is in an even better level in 5G networks than in 4G networks. So kind of tracking of users has been made very difficult, if not impossible, in 5G networks of the users. So I feel confident that we are still working on new enhancements for 5G, but 5G is meeting the security challenges of the future.
Nice, good to know. Two quick questions, and then we open to the Q&A. So I see that there are already some questions coming from the crowd. If there are more, please don't hesitate to text us. One very brief. What are you most excited about when it comes to 5G? Virtual reality, augmented reality, healthcare, which is very much a topic everybody's talking about now for various reasons. But what really is exciting you? What's the thing that you talk to your friends about and you say this thing is really going to be super cool, guys?
Yes, I'm quite much the use cases like VR and AR, how 5G will be used, they are very exciting. And I myself, I'm thinking like when we need to be at home nowadays quite much. So using AR, virtual reality or augmented reality systems, how could you kind of meet your friends as if they were in your house? That would be like my favorite application. But really kind of what I'm more like excited actually about the technology behind the scenes. That's really my area, so to say. How do you enable this? How do you make this secure? This is really what excites me.
Last thing before we open, you mentioned it before. You mentioned patent, and definitely intellectual property rights are an important part of our campaign. We want to make sure people understand, recognize, appreciate, and admire hidden inventors, but we want to make sure young people are inspired by this to have more inventors, but we also want to make sure everyone in Europe, decision makers, stakeholders, understand the importance of IPR, because that's a key part. One goes with the other one. And how do you think is important for you, this topic as an inventor itself? What role this day plays in your work? You mentioned it before. What is really making your life more comfortable at work when you know that you have a good, strong IPR behind you?
Yes, it's like a personal touch. I would say that I'm excited to work in the forefront of the technology, and when I know that I'm doing an invention, something which nobody has invented before. That's actually the definition of a patent. That if you are able to patent something, it's something which must be new and it is an innovation. So that's exciting to work on those things. But it has a little bit wider aspect than the personal excitement. That is that when we have this intellectual property rights and we have a working patent and licensing system, it also enables us to invest in the R&D efforts in the company. For example, Ericsson has 14,000 R&D engineers who are actually designing and also developing technology. And one could say also that as much as 18% of our global revenue is used for R&D. So this kind of working system where when companies really invest money into the new technology and then they do IPR, they do patents, and by this way they can share this new technology to others, and then they get a reasonable payment for others using this technology, and then they can reinvest that money to development of a new technology. And this also works between companies. So it's like a cycle which enhances the technology and also gives the one who has been developing the technology so that they can gain from their investments and also then be able to give it to others.
Okay, nice. Then I thank you very much. This is definitely very helpful. I would ask my team and whoever is in the back of all this conversation if I can pop up the first question. I see there are several coming. Lula Lake on Facebook. So as for one of you who don't know this, you can watch this on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So how long will it take to increase coverage of 5G around the world?
5G will first be built over, I would say, over cities and more populated areas. So it will take some years to have it all over the world. So 4G has nowadays quite good coverage. some, but I guess even 4G is not yet everywhere. So it will take some years to have it really really around the world, but it's being rolled out and deployed in the bigger cities around the world right now.
Good. So, second question. We go fast here. We try to grill you a bit. How much responsibility, Ricardo, YouTube, how much responsibility do you feel in making sure your innovation are not only game-changing, but also secure and safe? We mentioned briefly, but I mean, I guess the responsibility part, I think it's more personal. So I think it's a nice take on it. So thank you, Ricardo, for the question.
It's a very good question. And I think as an inventor and as a person working in this area, also been thinking about this, that I myself, I'm working in the security technology. So these go kind of hand in hand for me. So I would say that the inventions while working in the security area, that my inventions and technology we are developing is secure and safe. Then if it becomes game changing, that's a good add-on, I would say. That's one of the inspiring things if it really becomes like that. But it's a good question, and everybody needs to or working on this.
Yeah, I mean,
thinking about it.
I guess it's true. No? At the end of the day, it's people behind this. So when you think about security, you really feel, it's a very personal thing. I guess it's definitely an important one. Zlatomir Kosev, as a young, and I apologize if I pronounce wrong the surnames of some people, or sometimes the name as well. As a young inventor, what is the main thing I should consider? This is nice because it comes from someone who sounds like a young inventor, which is definitely what we're looking for. So Zlatomir, thank you. What is the main thing I should consider before patenting my ideas?
You should look at what has been done before. Maybe that would be kind of, you have typically an area of interest, and make some good search what has been done before, maybe looking at the some of the search machines, internet search machines. You can also search for patents.
Yeah.
And so look if you find anything what has been done before. If not, I would just encourage to go on with your idea. And if you have a process how you do it, if you are working in a company, for example, to submit your idea and see what happens to it, and you also get good feedback typically. If it doesn't go through, you will get, at least in our company, you get feedback what was not good in it. So you learn from your experience. So I would just say that you should actually go and submit and get feedback.
Yeah, and I mean, building on what you said from personal experience, I would say it's really important, as you said, if you're in a big company, ask for feedbacks. And if you're not, and if you're alone, ask for feedbacks anyhow. People usually, especially when you're young and you reach out to them, whether they are IP lawyers or expert, whatever, they're usually quite open and transparent, and they definitely help you out. So don't be afraid of sending in emails. And as you said, there are plenty of online database where people can definitely search things.
Maybe to add that if you have somebody you are working with, share your ideas with somebody who could actually become maybe an inventor with you in the same idea. That also makes typically the things much better.
Yeah, it's a way less lonely job as people think.
Yeah,
I would say that the media is portrayed very much as a one person, but it's usually a group or a team. And we have 1 minute left, so maybe let's see, Lal, Ulfet, and there. How can we incentivize young Europeans inventors to innovate? Which is a nice, I would say, closing, even Think Young and the old campaign to ask you. So thank you, Ulfet. How would you motivate young Europeans?
It's a good question. This is the $1,000 or even more dollar question. That I would say that to keep a curious mind and be interested how things work. So, and find your area of interest. If it's technological interest, then that's even better. And many times the inventions are not so big things. What was big learnings for me that they are not big things, but they can even be small things and small enhancements. They are also very good patterns.
Nice. Vesa, thank you very, very much for being with us. We are sharp 12 o'clock, so this half an hour Q&A was definitely very informative. Congratulations again for winning the Ericsson Inventor of the Year award. Definitely well deserved with all the years you spent in working both for Ericsson and 3GPP as a volunteer and pushing forward, and really thank you for bringing us 5G, if I can say on behalf of everybody, because it's really and making it safe and secure. A little piece of self-advertisement from a Think Young side. The campaign goes on all month. Next week, 22nd of October on Thursday, we have the Inventor of Bluetooth. So I guess another of the big guys. And then on the 29th, again, Thursday, 29th of October, we close with Commissioner Maria Gabriel from the European Commission. So we are very much looking forward to this. To everybody who's interested in the campaign, the hashtag is Hidden Inventors and the website is hiddeninventors.eu. I do hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, talking to Vesa, getting to know him. And feel free to reach out to Think Young and to Vesa as well. If there are more questions you would like to ask, we are always very open. And that, I guess, one of the values of this effort is really try to make sure that as many people as possible are involved and empowered by this campaign. Thank you very much again to you, to Ericsson for the support, and we see each other in 7 days. Thank you, Vesa. It was super kind of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.